Yesterday afternoon, I was bombarded with emails and DMs. Sitting there in my recliner waiting for the Pels game to start, working on the sports books, I start receiving all these messages about some dude named Gary Hahn. Start looking into the story, I found myself incredibly confused. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought interjecting politics into sports was deemed acceptable by deacons at Woke United Methodist. I thought it was okay for a broadcaster to be announcing the Rose Bowl and use that platform to spread the good word. CJ Stroud scrambles for a 9-yard run, which reminds me of the time my ancestors scrambled into this racist country. I have some good news for all of our viewers watching in straw huts in Guatemala. Our Lord and risen King, Joe Biden, has opened up our borders wider than Shay Shay's bongo. We encourage all of you to make the journey north. Just don't go too far north. Stay down in Texas. We have no room for you in Washington, D.C. Now, I just want to make sure I have a complete understanding of the rules, the standards. I can remember Kirk Herbstreit breaking down in tears on college game day, showing his feminine emotions. He just couldn't fathom all the mythical racism college football players had to deal with. And don't even get me started on Mark Jones. Somehow, Martha Jones has maintained a career at ESPN that's lasted over 3 decades. This dude's got a face for radio. He has no talent. I would be more entertained listening to a deaf mute call an NBA game than be subjected to the insufferable Mark Jones. This unconfirmed male has interjected politics into a live sports broadcast so many times, I've lost count. Remember the time he claimed Jacob Blake was unarmed when he was shot by police, even though Jacob Blake admitted he had a knife? Remember that? According to Martha Jones, Jacob Blake, he was using the knife to spread relish over his woke wiener. What about the time he claimed he would no longer use police escorts because he feared for his life around cops? Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Jamel Hill, LeBron James, Malika Andrews, Elle Duncan, all have used the platform of sports to promote their own personal ideology. But when an old white man does it, when he makes a harmless, innocent joke that was based in fact, he loses his job. Before yesterday, the majority of people living outside the state of North Carolina never heard of Gary Hahn. Gary Hahn has been the voice of NC State football and basketball since 1991, over 30 years. Spent a lot of time this morning trying to find any semblance of controversy over his 30-year career. I found nothing. That is an accomplishment. Hundreds of thousands of hours broadcasting live football and basketball games. Gary Hahn doesn't have one blemish on his record. Until now. Now, of course, normal people don't consider this a blemish. This clip I'm about to share with you guys, it's only offensive to the wanker spankers. Yesterday, Gary Hahn was calling the Maryland NC State game. They were playing in something called the Mayo Bowl. What the hell is that? The Mayo Bowl? Really? I refuse to watch the majority of college bowl games because they're absolutely meaningless. Actually, we're starting to see more and more NFL prospects opt out of playing in bowl games, which they should. Why should a first, second, third, fourth round draft pick risk his future so your program can take home the Mayo Bowl trophy? Yesterday, Mark Hahn calling this instant classic. Coming back from commercial break, he gave the audience an update on another meaningless bowl game no one cares about, the Sun Bowl, which featured UCLA and Pitt. Since its inception in the 1930s, the Sun Bowl has been held in El Paso, Texas. Now, when you think of El Paso, what is one of the first things that comes to your mind? Illegal immigrants. Well, Casey, that term is no longer acceptable. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry. That's my bad. According to the federal government, the proper term for people crossing the border illegally is illegal alien. I looked up several criminal cases on the Department of Justice website. Every single case I found, the government refers to them as illegal aliens. Now, don't get this term confused with Adam Silver. He's a legal alien. There's a big difference. When Adam Silver's parents immigrated from Fortuna, they filed the proper paperwork to make him a citizen. Gary Hahn gave his audience an update on the score of the Sun Bowl. When giving the update, he decided to make an innocent, harmless joke. Listen for yourself.
One other bowl game involving an ACC team going on. That's the Sun Bowl. And amongst all the illegal aliens down in El Paso, it's UCLA 14 and Pittsburgh 6. That's with 11:15 to go in the second quarter.
Harmless, right? I mean, for starters, what he said was true. The city of El Paso has been dealing with border problems for decades. I can remember them talking about problems in El Paso when George Bush was in office. The problem's gotten so bad, the mayor has declared a state of emergency, meaning he notified the federal government of the problem. They're going to step in and make it worse. How many people, though? How many people were listening to this broadcast on radio yesterday? Gary Hahn is a radio announcer on the local level. NC State, located in Raleigh, North Carolina, a city with a metro population of about 1.4 million people. This game was broadcast on national television, so how many people in 2022 were listening to this game on the radio? Maybe 50,000? I mean, if you told me it was 10,000, I wouldn't be surprised. I doubt anyone from Bleacher Report was listening, doubt anyone from ESPN was listening, the New York Times, USA Today. None of them were listening to this broadcast, which means some useless shitfuck who spends his time lubing his ass with Preparation H took the time to send this clip to the mainstream media. Otherwise, no one would know about this. Gary Hahn has been named North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year twice, won the award in 2011, won it again 2 years ago. This dude is a decorated broadcaster, over 30 years of service. You think any of that mattered to NC State or Learfield Communications? No! Your record doesn't matter when feelings are involved. You see, Gary Hahn made the mistake of not being born into a marginalized group. Had someone like Martha Jones said the same thing, there would not be one mainstream media outlet pick up the story. But when the evil white man uses a term created and endorsed by the federal government, he is suspended indefinitely. Translation: Gary Hahn was fired. There are many people who are actually shocked by this overreaction, but when you look at the recent actions from NC State, this should not come as a surprise. I had someone reach out to me late last night who covers events in North Carolina. They educated me on what's really going on at NC State. When you think of woke colleges and universities, most people think of Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Penn, hell, any school in the Ivy Leagues. When it comes to colleges that teach proper respect of the rectum, most people don't think of NC State. I know I didn't. I would have never known about this had he not pointed this out to me. All students at NC State are required to enroll in diversity training. The class is called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Students. The woke trifecta. In this exciting course, white students are made aware of their white privilege. They are forced to recognize their white-splaining. The students who choose to identify as male go through a detox of their toxic masculinity. Well, Casey, what does the detox consist of? Let's just say Peter will no longer be a beater. The course also brings awareness to the art of tone policing. Well, Casey, what the hell is that? Tone policing is when a birthing person attempts to shut down others based on their emotional state. Isn't that exactly what Learfield Communications did to Gary Hahn? They literally shut this man down based on the emotional state of a group of useless shitfucks in the mainstream media. Now, they're calling this an indefinite suspension. Gary Hahn hasn't officially lost his job yet. But if I'm Gary Hahn, I don't want this job. I don't want to work for someone who, after 30 years of service, refuses to have my back. I don't want to work for someone who is so weak, they cave to media pressure within hours. This should have been a non-story. We are now silencing people who tell the truth. What Gary Hahn said was factual. There are illegal aliens in El Paso, Texas. Pretty sure everyone knows that. If I had a kid at NC State, I would pull their ass out immediately. I don't care if they had a scholarship. I damn sure wouldn't be giving that institution any of my money. I'm not going to pay you to indoctrinate my kid. If anyone's indoctrinating my kid, it's going to be me, and I can do it for free. Colleges and universities are teaching kids a lie. In the real world, there is no such thing as equity. Part of the diversity training at NC State is teaching kids about fairness. Kids, I hate to break it to you, fairness does not exist. The world does not judge you based on equity. You are judged on the value you provide. Kids are graduating from college every year with a $100,000 degree that is completely useless. They enter the workforce with no skill set, but they can damn sure teach you about diversity. They can give you one hell of a lecture on inclusion. Problem is, that doesn't pay the bills. In the real world, people are not paying for diversity training. But anyway, give me your thoughts. Gary Hahn, likely fired for using the term illegal alien. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.